Hello, I am Chelsea Kent, and I am the founder of Solutions Pet Products. Today I want to talk to you about our raw goat milk products and why the Solutions raw goat milk is a little bit different from some of the other things that you might be familiar with. The first thing that I want to cover is that our products are not pasteurized. So pasteurization is a heating process that's done at 145 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and this tends to make the product less bioavailable. There are certain nutrients that are degraded in the process of pasteurization. There are vitamins that are very sensitive to heat, including vitamin B6, which is a necessity for making sure that the body can metabolize histamines and allergens. Vitamin B12, vitamin B9, which is also folate, vitamin C, you also get degraded, as well as enzymes. So lipase, lactase. Lactase actually helps to digest lactose. So when you hear about lactose intolerance, it's largely because the body doesn't have lactase to break down the lactose. So by keeping the product raw, it actually makes it so that it can digest itself. Another thing that gets degraded is the enzyme alkaline phosphatase. So alkaline phosphatase helps to ensure that calcium is able to be absorbed by the body. So as soon as you dry or heat a raw milk product, you no longer have access to the calcium. Calcium, methylated B6, as well as copper are the three primary nutrients that are necessary for the production of enzymes that help to metabolize allergens. So a pasteurized or dried milk product won't help with allergies, but a raw milk product will. Raw milk also naturally contains an endocannabinoid called anandamide. So this is a naturally occurring cannabinoid. We all have an endocannabinoid system as mammals, dogs, cats, horses, cows, humans. Everybody has an endocannabinoid system. So anandamide is a naturally occurring cannabinoid that actually promotes a sense of calm. Ananda in Sanskrit actually stands for bliss because it was originally found to be really stabilizing for mood, and it really helps to optimize health. With most companies, if they do any culturing of their raw milk products at all, they will usually use a laboratory-made isolate blend of probiotic cultures. So these are not as comprehensive. They don't necessarily work as naturally as just the way that nature does. So what we use at Solutions, they're called Wild Whey cultures, and it's kind of like starting a marathon in the middle. So if you take a typical probiotic packet that just has a set of lab created enzymes and probiotics that are in there, you pour it into a milk product, you have to let that sit for a certain time at a certain temperature to allow it to culture and begin to proliferate to create the probiotics that you're wanting out of that. With Wild Whey cultures, it's already really well proliferated from the time that we add it in, and it just continues to proliferate more the longer that the milk is at a higher temperature. So once you get it home and you thaw it in your refrigerator, it will continue to culture. If you leave it at room temperature, it will culture even more. Over the course of time that you have the milk product, it will culture even more. So you would expect the product to get thicker and chunkier the longer you have it. This is not a bad thing. This actually is just basically the milk turning into a yogurt. So you're getting even more probiotics the thicker and chunkier that it gets. It can also get a little bit more tangy in that period of time. So most pets really like it. Occasionally you'll get a pet that thinks it's a little bit too tangy once you start nearing the end. If that happens, then you can go ahead and grab a new container, mix it in with the older container just to kind of dilute that tangy flavor a little bit so that they continue to like it through the whole thing. So we also don't homogenize our products. Homogenization is a process where they use high pressure to basically fractionate the fat in the casein into smaller molecules so that it always stays really even and thin and looks really pretty. So when you have your milk at home, any kind of variation in the milk we're taught could mean that there's a problem with it, but nature doesn't really work that way. So our products, we don't want to damage the integrity integrity of the nutrition that's naturally provided in there, so we do not homogenize in there. It's also worth noting that homogenization is actually a process that can increase gut permeability, which is not ideal. We don't want to be contributing to leaky gut in our pets by adding something that we're trying to use medicinally. So raw goat milk has smaller molecules than cow milk. Actually, they're 5 times smaller than cow milk, which makes them much more absorbable. If we really think about the structure of a cow, they have 4 stomachs. They are designed to be able to digest things that are pretty hard to digest. So goat milk is a lot easier to absorb, easier to metabolize because of the smaller molecules. It also has lower levels of alpha S1 casein, which is something that can actually contribute to health problems and digestive issues and make it more difficult to absorb. Goat milk is also higher than cow milk in calcium, selenium, vitamin A, and medium chain fatty acids. So Solutions only sources from regenerative family farms. All of the goats are pasture raised. They get to go inside or go outside as much as they'd like to. We'd like to say that they spend most of their time outside on pasture, but they actually do not like that. Most of the time you have to kick them out of the barn. So they are allowed to go out whenever they want to, but if they are happy being inside, we allow them to be inside. They get access to whatever kind of grass as well as clovers that they want. Any flowers or anything that are growing in the fields actually contribute to the nutrition that's in the milk. We don't use any antibiotics, steroids, hormones, synthetics, or anything like that. All of this helps to optimize the nutrition and decrease any potential toxins for your pet. So to thaw these guys, sometimes you want to thaw them slowly, sometimes you want to thaw them quickly. We want to give you the ideas on how to do that. So if you buy this, it's going to come frozen. Once you get it home, you have the option of thawing it quickly. If you would like to, you can go ahead and put the entire container in a bowl of cool water. We prefer cool over hot just because all of the live bacteria and probiotics and enzymes in here will degrade when you heat it. So putting it in the cool water, you'll get it to thaw a lot quicker, but you are not going to be killing any of the beneficial compounds that are in here. You can also just leave it in the sink to sweat while it thaws. I usually leave mine in the sink overnight. Even if it's warm by the time you get it into the refrigerator, that's fine because it's cultured. The cultures help to protect it from any kind of pathogens. You can also thaw it in the refrigerator if you would like to. It will take a lot longer, and especially if you have 2 or more of them next to each other. I have had a handful of these in the refrigerator before next to each other, and it's taken up to an entire week for them to thaw in the refrigerator. Once they are thawed, you can pour it onto the food. You can give it by itself just as a snack. It's actually a natural appetite suppressant. You can pour it into enrichment mats, stuffable toys. You can use the silicone molds. You can steep any of our herbal blends and pour it in here. You can freeze them and make it into little treats if you would like. And one of my favorite options is using this for rehydrating the chia seeds and making a pudding. So if you have a stuffable toy where pouring a liquid in there isn't going to work because it's just going to fall right out the other side, if you make the pudding with the chia seed and the raw milk, then you have a nice thick pudding that will go into a stuffable toy without leaking out. You can give it just like that, or you can freeze it if you'd like to. If you have any more questions or you want to know details about the individual formulas, then feel free to move on to the next videos. We have videos on each individual milk product, so you get a little bit of a deep dive on why they're different.